Dear friends, colleagues and everyone who is attending this important online forum on anti-Semitism arranged by Combat Anti-Semitism Movement. The recent accusations of Israel being an apartheid state by some human rights organizations is extremely dangerous. It portrays Israel as a racist state. It delegitimizes Israel's right to exist. It even contributes to the global rise of anti-Semitism. My name is David Lega and I'm a member of the European Parliament representing Sweden. I am a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, where we focus on EU's relations with the rest of the world. One of my primary focus is on Israel. Furthermore, as a member of the Subcommittee on Human Rights, I also work with promoting human rights and fundamental freedoms. And I'm also a member of the European Parliament's working group against anti-Semitism. And to give you a more concrete example, I have recently been working on the infamous Palestinian textbooks. These textbooks are used in the UNRWA-sponsored schools. So why are they infamous? The material used in these schools is teaching Palestinian pupils to hate the Jewish people. The material incites to violence, glorifies gruesome terrorist activities, and rejects peace between Israel and Arab states. A recent study by Georg Eckert Institute concluded that the curriculum does not meet the UNESCO standards of peace, tolerance and non-violence. So how is this relevant in the European Union? The Palestinian Authority has for years been receiving funds from EU taxpayers' funds that have gone directly to hate and anti-Semitism. And I, as a member of the European Parliament, who places above all the values of tolerance, justice, solidarity and non-discrimination, find it disgraceful that the appropriation of such values are used to justify hatred. The EU funding to the Palestinian Authority has been blocked since last year when the Commission imposed conditionality on it. But when visiting Ramallah in the West Bank last week, Ursula von der Leyen announced that the EU would unblock funding to the Palestinian Authority. And I find this extremely frustrating. I am a firm supporter of assistance to vulnerable groups and aid to education, but funds cannot be granted without conditionality. Our taxpayers' money should not fund hatred. So I have raised this critical issue with the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and also with High Representative Josep Borrell. There is a dire need for oversight, transparency and accountability regarding the repeated teaching of hate and incitement to Palestinian children. The Commission has promised and resolved to zero tolerance against anti-Semitism, and still it funds hate speech against the Jewish people. We must see a real commitment to zero tolerance, both in internal and external policies of the EU. Multilateral organizations have not treated Israel like a developed democratic state, and the EU's lack of willingness to enhance cooperation with Israel is clear due to the fact that no EU-Israel Association Council meeting has been held since 2012. Furthermore, there is a clear bias against Israel in the UN. There have been more than 100 resolutions in the UN Security Council against Israel, and there is a standing commission of inquiry. No other country is being targeted by the United Nations to this extent. So questions arise. Why does the EU not want to enhance its cooperation and dialogue with the only democratic states in the Middle East? Why does the UN treat Israel like a villain state? The preferential treatment of Palestinians must also be addressed. The UNRWA is a UN body formed in 1949 to resolve the situation of the 700,000 Palestinian refugees fleeing the territories of the newly formed State of Israel. The initial idea was that the UNRWA would be a temporary institution. However, today, more than 70 years later, the number of Palestinian refugees is well over 5 million. Unlike any other refugees, the Palestinian refugee status is inherited. So why are the Palestinian refugees not handled under the same organization like the rest of the refugees in the world? Finally, I want to re-emphasize how absurd it is that human rights organizations claim that Israel is engaged in apartheid. I am deeply disturbed about the obvious biases against the only democratic state in the Middle East. In fact, 2 million Arabs fully enjoy their civil and political rights to vote, to be elected, to serving government and to pursue all professions in Israel. What kind of apartheid system would allow that? Regrettably, this smear campaign will effectively decrease the prospects for the peaceful two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Many people claim to strive towards a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but unless we stop feeding children with hate, how will the next generation have a chance to live in peace? Therefore, we need to continue to work together to make a sustainable difference.